What is going on, mortals? Mortal T here, and today we're back on Ark Survival Evolved for another react video. So today, me and my trusty dino behind me are going to be reacting to the Rarest Creatures in Ark Survival Evolved. Rare meaning that you hardly see them, and when you do see them, they're usually pretty darn hard to tame. So, let's get straight to what we're going to be reacting to. So it is, like I said, going to be the top 10 rarest creatures in Ark. So let's get on to
in at number 10, the Noglin. The mind-bending brain slug just enters the list above the former ode to another variable on top, as well as being found only on Genesis Part 2, which you'll need to head within Rockwell's innards, or somehow miraculously find one within the Garden Trench, and then actually see one with your own eyes, being one of the smallest creatures in the game without a tech suit.
So yeah, kind of agree with this one. The Noglin is rare because it only does spawn on one map and one map only. You have to go down into the trench that is just filled with badness. They're so small that they're really hard to spot in all the darkness anyway, so that makes it even harder to find. And then taming it is also really hard as well. So trying to get a tamed one of these can be really difficult. So I do agree with it that it is probably one of, if not the rarest creatures in Ark. So
in at number 9, the Giga. An obvious entry, but argued against, the larger-than-life meat-running powerhouse certainly holds a huge issue to add to its rarity. Its slumber. Found in very specific locations across 9 maps, will still find you visiting a number of them to find one of the 2 spawns it will appear within. And especially on some maps like the island, if attempting to kill to respawn a higher level, can find an incredible respawn cooldown awaiting.
So, yet again, kind of agree with this one. Gigas, when they first came out, were supposed to be kind of rare to come across. They were the next big thing compared to T-Rexes. T-Rexes were somewhat rare-ish, but you could see them quite often. But Gigas were like this supposed to be super rare, ultra killing beast that you could get your hands on. But I agree about the island part. Now, I love the island. I think it is actually one of my favorite maps, even though it's just a basic map. But trying to find a Giga spawn on the island is just phenomenally hard. I've come across maybe 3 or 4 in my entire playthrough of playing on the island map. So they are pretty darn rare. So when you see one, you kind of just have to take it.
Gen 2.
So
in at number 8, the Karka.
Yeah,
despite
Karka,
sharing the exact same spawn
dino
locations as the Giga, reducing the likelihood of either to appear, it just tips its like-sized friend ode to a chance of having the right required dinos in range to actually tame. Based on a wonderfully complex 2-step taming process we've covered in depth in a previous vid, essentially you'll...
So yeah, agree with this one as well. This was meant to be the new Apex dino, kind of on par with the Giga due to its size and its ferocity. But it also cut down the number of Giga spawns as well, and its own spawns. So it's the Karka and the Giga spawns are fighting against each other to see who is actually going to win the spawn challenge kind of thing. So it's kind of a luck that you come across either one of these. But they are two very nice dinos, and if you do come across one, you tend to go, "Ooh, should I stay and try and tame that?" It's one of those type of creatures. So yeah, I agree. It's very, very rare. Not very, very rare, but it's pretty darn rare. So let's move on, shall we?
In at number 7, the Titanosaur. Expected to attend the list, the 7th largest creature in the game, despite generally only spawning one at a time, can become even rarer if sharing a map with players who all want to tame one themselves. Luckily, adopting a giant rendering range, it's not too hard to track down once knowing its several spawn locations across 7 maps. More commonly killed for some tasty experience points.
Totally agree. Only one of these guys will spawn at any one time on any map whatsoever. Max of 3 tamed on any particular map. If you have 3 already tamed on a map, no more spawn naturally. Kind of annoying. They're hard to kill and hard to tame. If you are playing on the official kind of single player thing, they do despawn after a while. So that means even if you tame it, they'll just naturally despawn and you won't get to have it. And you can't clone them and you can't breed them, just like the video says. So yes, I think these are particularly darn rare to try and get your hands on. You might be able to see them well enough because they're absolutely huge, biggest dino in the game, but trying to tame it and then keep it is rather hard. So yeah, I definitely agree with that one.
Devastating attacks. In at number 6, the Leoplorodon. Possibly could come in a little higher within this list. The derpy, mini Moser looking Houdini isn't too difficult to find, providing you're diving at Mach 10 speeds within the deep blue. But barely breathe on it and you'll quickly find it execute a stunning magic trick of whirlpooling itself out of existence for you to then track down again. Documented as the least tamed creature in the game, it's a difficult one to execute, needing to be passively fed with instantly decaying honey, with a great tip to use fishing rods for a helping hand. And once tamed, its buff just doesn't feel enough to be bothered with, especially with a time limit before you lose it and need to tame it again, as well as a lack of breeding and cloning allowed that could have possibly tipped this into being a more desirable creature.
So quickly, agree with that one. Kind of like a magical creature that they kind of put in the underwater. It can disappear on you right in front of your eyes in that whirlpool thing. It's not very beneficial to tame either, just like the Titan. After a while it will just despawn if it's tamed or not. It doesn't matter. So yeah, kind of a letdown on that creature. And as you said at the beginning, the least ever tamed dino in Ark Survival Evolved, that one. Just a record.
At number 5, the Rhiniothatha. The final creature to drop to Ark 1, and a stat-sucking Sky Serenader at that. Offered only on 2 maps and in very specific locations with a limited spawn count, you're then tasked with needing to find both genders to initiate a questionable mating ritual in any circumstance. Needing to kill males to find pheromones to then feed to your best drag weight creatures possible. Recommended to use Brontos, Gigas or Carcas. Attracting a female, you'll also need to find and damage to below 10% health to shoot her offspring into your host, who of course then needs one of at least 23 items fed when prompted to carry your best stats over into the soon to burst out baby Rhinio, killing your host
Right, yet again, totally agree. Anything that gives you like a lot of things that you have to do in order to get your hands on one is just ridiculous. To me, in my opinion, it's absolutely ridiculous. Why have I got to hold like 27 items? It could be one of these 27 items to tame it. It's like, it's just ridiculous. So yeah, trying to get your hands on one of these, I do think, is probably one of the rarest things that you are going to do. It only tends to spawn on 2 particular maps as well. Then you go through the whole taming process, getting pheromones, injecting it into your big dino. The female comes along, you have to kill, well, not kill that, you have to drop its health. And then you have to feed it an item, and yeah, it's a long process to even try and remotely get your hands on one of these guys, even though they are probably the most OP dino in Ark Survival Evolved. So keep that in mind. The most OP dino of all time. So let's get to it.
In at number 4 is the unicorn. Hitting the super rare to find creatures now. Arguably the first to truly adopt the trophy tame title. It can become a never-ending story to find a horny white Equus variant out in the wild. With only one spawning at a time within each of its 6 maps, being a feeble horse and spawning across dozens of locations, all surrounded with meat-hungry carnivores without an ability to pick up to a safe location, could result in one of the most frustrating searches you'll encounter. Fortunately, through a guaranteed spawn each time, just a small bit of preparation can go a long way to sneak up and bear back the gleaming beauty, popping in simple kibble when prompted to allow you to tame an opposite gender and never have to worry about taming one ever again.
So yeah, mythical creature, unicorn, pretty darn rare in Ark. Rare to see. You'll probably see a lot of normal Equises. But trying to come across a unicorn can be pretty darn rare, and when you do see one, it does make you stop and go, should I tame that? Just because it is that type of rare. So, let's get to it.
In number 3 is the Phoenix. Making you wonder what on earth could rank above this flaming pearl-pooping mythological flyer, it's very clear to see why this next trophy tame is a rare gem indeed. Spawning only on scorched earth is just the start of your problems. You'll then tasked to await one of the 4 random weather conditions to nestle in, namely a heat wave to allow the fire spitter to even appear from its hidden location on the map. And with it spawning practically anywhere on the map, you've now got a short amount of time to find it and use any fire burning resource available to tame it before the heat wave ends and your prize turning to ash and disappearing through to the ground below and awaiting the next one. Fortunately though, there appears to be up to 3 or 4 available to spawn on the map, and if simply
So, Phoenix, in my personal opinion, I love the Phoenix. It's a great addition to Ark as a mythical creature. The abilities that it's got is very good. The model of it is pretty darn well designed. There are a couple of mechanics that I wish they would have had done. Yes, you can fly it, but it doesn't land for any reason. Don't know why it doesn't land, it just hovers in the air, which is really dumb. Its tame mechanic, yet again, it is kind of hard to get. It only spawns on scorched earth for unknown reasons. People haven't ported it into any other map. Kind of sad to see. But yeah, I just think it's absolutely beautiful, and it should have been brought onto other maps. That's just me. Let's move on.
In at number 2, the Fenrir. The Ice Cube Nordic Wolf deservedly comes in high, owed to not just being a one-map creature, but an unspawnable wild you can't just tame nor breed or clone, with a monstrous requirement of beating the final boss of Fjorda. One of the hardest guardians in Ark to simply prepare for through the variety of prerequisites to just face, to drop even more punishments. Only the player who initiated the terminal fight will be rewarded with a cryo-containing one. No one else. And depending on difficulty, can reward you with an inferior Fenrir, needing you to beat and defeat Alpha Fenrisulfur, which even then will reward you only one good stat roll, meaning to be rewarded with a decent health or melee Fenrir could see you.
Yeah, and this, in my opinion, this one is just really, really, really stupid. The amount of stuff that you have to do to even remotely get your hands on one is just way out there. For one thing, it's probably the most difficult boss in Ark Survival Evolved just to try and defeat. That's on any level. But before that, you have to defeat the other normal bosses like the Broodmother and the Dragon and stuff. And then, even when you do that and you defeat one of these, only one person out of your entire party, doesn't matter how many people you can take 10 people, 20 people, it doesn't matter, only one person, the person who actually initialized the sequence to go into the boss arena, will only get rewarded with one of these. And when he does get rewarded with one of these, it's not particularly that great. So, rare, absolutely, just because of the amount of stuff that you have to go through, and then only one person getting it. Yeah, okay.
And here it is in the number one, Zombie Wyverns. That's right. There's creatures in Ark you can't even tame anymore. There's no possible way to legit tame a zombie wyvern in vanilla Ark Survival Evolved anymore. Because the slightly stronger lightning, fire and poison variants were offered as a reward for beating the very difficult giant menacing dodo wyvern during a Fear Evolved event. Introduced with the second Halloween-based time-limited update, would require you to visit Scorched Earth, await midnight every third day, to then track down the multi-breathing hybrid monster whilst avoiding its accompanied zombie wyvern friends to allow to claim once slaying the dodo-headed flyer. Offered every Halloween since its introduction, it was announced late last year that events would no longer be dropped to Ark Survival Evolved, and as a result, no more zombie wyverns for anyone, unless you're one of the lucky ones that got given a cloned undead Draconis, because they can't be bred either, leaving one to wonder, will this ever change, or is this doomed to be the ultimate?
So yeah, this is the end. This is number one, and yet again, it's not like the most spectacular creature, because you can get normal wyverns absolutely on a lot of maps, so it's not a particularly rare kind of dino. It's the variant, which is the zombie variant of the wyvern, is extremely rare. I very much doubt that you're ever going to come across one, especially if you're a new player. Like you said, you cannot legitimately get one of these anymore whatsoever. You cannot tame one. You can spawn them in and tame them that way with commands, but you cannot legitimately go out and tame one of these, which is kind of unfortunate, kind of annoying. It is kind of a cool variant, having the zombie skin on top of your wyvern. Very, very nice. But that's about it. So, mortals, that is the top 10 rarest dinos in Ark Survival Evolved. Let me know down in the comments what you think below, if any other dinos should have been in that list. Let me know what you think, and I'll hopefully see you mortals in the next video.